This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, the Grand Bahama Power Company coming under heavy scrutiny over the past 2 weeks over the cost of electricity. But officials say they are committed to reducing dependence on fossil fuels and are exploring new cost-effective initiatives. Kimberly Mullings has our top story.
Recognizing that customers are now looking at renewable and alternative energy solutions, the Grand Bahama Power Company is working toward initiatives which help the economy and environment, as well as reduce the dependence on fossil fuels. Whitney Heasty, Vice President of Generation Engineering, says the company is hoping to introduce solar generation technology to the energy mix in 2016.
Earlier this year, in August of 2015, in our rate submission to the Port Authority, we put into that rate submission the plan to have renewables as an energy mix. Through this, customers will have the ability, certainly, to sell energy that they can produce from renewable sources such as solar and wind and other forms.
Heasty says this would be made possible with the new renewable energy rider rate. He adds that preliminary work has also begun to replace more than 9,000 street and night guard lights.
LED is the technology that has been chosen, and we all know that LED formed to be has been proven to be energy efficient. And over the next year, we look to complete this project. Clearly, the design of this project is to reduce the energy that is consumed by street lighting and night guard lighting on the island.
The Generation and Engineering Vice President says that the power company is also evaluating storage technology, which is something new.
We recognize, based on the way the system operates, that this will certainly reduce the number of diesel engines that operates and allow us to have the potential to reduce and to push forward the bringing in of more fossil fuel engines in the future.
The Grand Bahama Power Company also wants to assure the public that they are committed to providing the most efficient energy possible.
As we recognize that the power that is being used powers every day and every moment of their lives. And to do that, we recognize that the renewables and alternative energy has to be part of the energy mix.
Kimberly Mullings, ZNS Network News.
In other news, immigration officers and other law enforcement partners foiling an alleged human smuggling attempt yesterday in waters off East End. The chase on the high seas resulted in the arrest of 7 persons, including 2 Bahamians. Megan Shepard has that story.
Law enforcement agencies involved in a high-speed chase in waters off East End on Tuesday. Reports say the enforcement unit of the Bahamas Immigration Department getting information that persons were spotted on a quay off North Riding Point in East End. Officers then enlisted the assistance of the Bahamas Customs and the patrol vessels and then proceeded to that area. Reports say when the enforcement team arrived, they observed a 21-foot Boston whaler traveling in a northerly direction at a high rate of speed before abruptly changing its course and heading east. A chase ensued, and after a few minutes the vessel stopped and law enforcement officers were able to board the Boston whaler. 2 Bahamian males on board the Boston whaler are said to be from Abaco. Also on board were 5 Dominicans and a blue plastic 50-gallon container. The 2 Bahamian men claimed that they were rescuing the Dominicans from a quay. They were eventually taken into custody, and the 5 Dominicans who had no passports or proof of legal status in the Bahamas were transferred to the police vessel. The 2 Bahamian men were placed on board the customs vessel to be brought to Freeport. The enforcement team also carried out a search of the surrounding keys in that area for more possible illegal immigrants. No more were found. The Dominicans are expected to be transported to the detention center to await repatriation, while the 2 Bahamian men will be held for questioning to determine the extent of their involvement in this alleged smuggling attempt. The Boston whaler vessel was impounded by the Customs Department. For ZNS Network News, I'm Megan Shepard.
Still on news from the crime beat, police arresting a 23-year-old man at the Freeport Harbor after seizing a quantity of dangerous drugs. Police tell us that around noon yesterday, officers stationed at the terminal were informed by security officers that a man was acting in a suspicious manner when searched at the security checkpoint. A further search was conducted and 2 taped wrapped packages of cocaine was found hidden under his clothing. Now, the man was arrested and taken into custody. The cocaine is valued at around $25,000. This morning, police arraigned Omar Perez Burrows on charges of possession of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply and taking preparatory steps to export dangerous drugs. He pled guilty and was fined $3,000 on each count, or 1 year imprisonment at the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Burrows was arraigned before Magistrate Rankin Johnson. And 3 Grand Bahamians are arraigned in court in the nation's capital today on drug possession charges. Dwayne, Stephen, and Veronica Stewart were all arraigned before Magistrate Andrew Forbes for possession of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply. You may recall that on Monday afternoon, police searched 2 men in a vehicle in the Midshipman Road area and reportedly found 20 kilos of cocaine. In court today, 49-year-old Dwayne Stewart pled guilty to cocaine possession. He was sentenced to 3 years behind bars, and charges were dropped against Stephen Stewart. Dwayne Stewart also pleading guilty to marijuana charges. The drugs was found at a house in Bahamas. Stewart was sentenced to 2.5 years behind bars on that charge. Charges were also dropped against Veronica Stewart in that case. Now, the sentences issued to Dwayne Stewart are to run concurrently. Stay with us, there's more news right after this.